Hi, Amy with AJ's Vintage Designs here. I'm one of the brand ambassadors for Dixie Belle Paints, and I'm coming to you to show the bells and whistles Sunflower Transfers and some colors and products that I put together that work really well to get this look. The transfers come in 4 sheets. So you're gonna see, I did this entire project with 1 tube of transfers. So I got 1, 2, 3 projects. And I'm gonna walk you through each of the projects. One, I'm gonna be showing you how to do the blending. Kernel mustard, lemonade, drop cloth. I'm gonna be showing you that. Next, I'm gonna be showing you how to use the coffee bean as a stain on raw wood to get this look. And then I'm gonna be showing you how to dry brush all these colors. The coffee bean, the kernel mustard, the drop cloth, to get this look. And all 3 of these looks are all included in this video.
Okay, here we go. Let's get started. I'm using the Dixie Belle Mini, which is a synthetic brush to apply my paint, and I'm starting off with the kernel mustard. I'm going to be getting kernel mustard all the way around the borders of this table. I want to, on this piece, work from the bolder colors towards the center, which would be lighter. So I'm going to be going from the kernel mustard, the next color will be lemonade, and then I'll be going into drop cloth, which is a whitish beige. It makes it easier having that transition between the kernel mustard and that light beige. By having that lemonade in between, it will help with the blending. It's harder to blend colors that have a lot of contrast between the 2 of them. So if I would go from kernel mustard straight to drop cloth, then it'd be harder to do the blend. Having that lemonade, that little ring of lemonade in here is going to make the transition and the blending so much easier. So as you can see, I'm adding the lemonade, and I'm kind of blending it out with the kernel mustard. And the reason I'm doing that now is going to make it easier later. And you're also going to notice that I am misting. I'm using a misting bottle with water. It's just strictly water that's in there. I am misting my piece as I go because I want to make sure that paint stays wet or moist so that it's movable. Once it dries, it's not going to be easy to move at all. You do need to keep it, your paint wet, and mist it as you go. Prevent any brush marks or drag marks. So you will see me continuously misting whenever I need to. If my paint starts to feel a little bit dry or if it's not moving easily, mist it with a little water to reactivate it, and it'll keep it moving. Okay, now I'm adding a little bit of the drop cloth to give it that lighter center. Just going to keep blending until I get all those colors blended together the way I like, misting as I go using my Dixie Belle Mini. And then I'm going to be transitioning over to a dry brush. Now right here I'm using the Dixie Belle Oval Medium. You can use any of the synthetic brushes. Now this oval medium I'm using is clean, it's dry, there's no paint on it. And so by doing that, it's going to give me that airbrushing look. So keep mixing it and using the dry brush, blend those colors until you get it the way you like it. You see also that I do have a paper towel in my hand. Anytime I feel like my brush is getting a little muddied with too much paint from doing this blending, I do wipe it off on a paper towel, and then I continue to blend. And just keep working it until you get it the way you like it. Okay, now for the transfer. I've cut apart my flowers, I've laid them out the way I want them, and I'm going to do the bottom flower first. So I have it placed the way I want, I don't want to move it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel back the backing paper, holding the flower in the position that I've decided I want it in. I'm going to fold back that backing paper, and then I'm going to attach, press down, so that image is applied and is stuck to the tabletop. And now it's time to burnish it. And burnishing is basically using the stick to rub the image to release from the plastic. You see me right now putting a plastic sheet down. I cut the flower so close to the plastic cover that I didn't want to accidentally slip with my burnishing stick and scratch my paint. So I put a piece of plastic down to protect my paint in those areas that I'm really close on the edge. So you're going to burnish all around the transfer, getting all those edges, getting in the center, give it a good rub over, and then we're going to start peeling back the plastic. Now you don't want to scratch with your fingernail, scratch a corner to try to pick up that plastic. You don't want to scratch your paint. So I like to use painter's tape or any type of masking tape. Use some tape, roll it up, put it on the corner, and allow that to pick up the plastic for you, so you're not going to scratch your paint by using your fingernail or something sharp to try to pull up the plastic. Okay, now's where the fun begins. You're gonna start rubbing, and you see how I'm running my finger underneath the plastic? I'm rubbing in front of it with the stick on the outside. That is, I'm helping the image release from the plastic, and I'm also watching to make sure that all of the image is releasing from the plastic. If you're pulling up and part of the image has not released from the plastic, you lay it back down, continue rubbing, and then start pulling it up again. And because you don't want to pull up the image and end up leaving part of the image on the plastic. So I'm using my finger to slowly guide the plastic up, and then I'm able to see if the image is releasing. Okay, I've got the image on, and now I'm taking a Dixie Belle Fine, their gentle finishing pad. You can use a t-shirt, a cloth, you can use your fingers, but you want to do some extra burnishing. I want to make sure all my edges are down, there's no bubbles, that 100% of this transfer is adhered onto the piece of furniture before I go on to my next transfer. Now you can see I'm using the next two, laying them down to see where I want them, because I'm going to be doing the one in the middle. And do the same technique. Pull back that paper, try not to move your transfer from where you've selected to have it, and press it down and repeat the entire process we just did with the first flower. Okay, now it's time to seal your transfers. Now, my sealer of choice when it comes to transfers, the one that I always go to is the Dixie Belle Clear Coat in Satin. That's what I like to seal my transfers with. So I'm actually using a roller since this is a larger table, and it's just so much easier to use the roller. Now you're gonna see when you roll it on that it might be a little uneven because not all surfaces are completely flat. So you roll it on, and then you go back and you go at a 45-degree angle. That helps make a nice smooth coverage of your clear coat, as you can see, because I have high, low roller marks. So then you go back at a 45-degree angle, it fills all those in, and then you come back long passes, straight lines. Now, the one reason I like the satin clear coat for this is the fact that the satin clear coat has a long open time. It really gives you a lot of working time to be able to smooth things out, get it the way you want it, and I just love the finish that it gives. So I'm going to do this over the entire table before we go on to the next step. Okay, if you want to add a little more character or age up your piece, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm adding the Best Dang Wax in Brown. I want to give the groove around the table a little bit of aging and kind of deepen up the Colonel Mustard around the edges. So I'm using the Best Dang Wax in Brown. It is an easy wax to work with. It's a water-based wax, and so I'm applying it with my French tip, my Dixie Belle French tip brush, using the applicator pad to buff it back. Now you see I'm doing it in kind of circular motions. I always find it easiest when doing fine details with your decorative waxes when I do the wiping, I do it in a circular motion. For some reason, it just seems to work easier for me. So I'm doing a second coat because I wanted to even make it a little bit darker and add more definition. This wax is so forgiving and so easy to work with. So there we go. I have it around the edges, and in those grooves, giving it a nice aged look. You can see where I haven't done it and where I have done it. You can see the difference right there. I'm pinching the tip of the French tip so I can really get in the groove around that table, because that's where I want most of the color to remain. And I'm just going to work all the way around the table, adding that best dang wax and brown. You see also that I'm tapping on the lid. When I dip into the wax, I always tap it into the lid so that I don't have any clumps or too much wax on my brush before I start applying it. So I like to tap it on the brush, or tap the brush on the lid to get that excess pushed into the brush, and then I won't have any clumps. And now I'm just buffing it to a nice shine and a beautiful color. The brown wax really kind of deepens it and gives a beautiful aging. Okay, another project. This is real quick. Did you know that you can use the coffee bean paint as a stain? I'm going to show you real quick here on raw wood. You just wet down your wood. I'm mixing it with water. I'm adding a little water to my coffee bean. I'm applying it with a chip brush. The more water you use, the more translucent or visible your grains are going to be. So I just use water, the coffee bean paint, apply it with the chip brush, wipe it off with a paper towel, and there you go. So you can use coffee bean as a stain on raw wood. Okay, it's ready for a transfer. I'm going to go ahead and apply the transfer, and then I'll show you how to seal it. Now I'm going to be sealing it with the satin. Once again, it's my favorite one to use, but this time I'm using a brush because a roller's not going to fit in here. So I'm using a synthetic brush. I'm using the Dixie Belle Flat Small. And when you're applying clear coats, it's very important to look in the light, because some areas might not absorb the clear coat even though you think you've brushed it on. And so I'm going to be checking in the light right here, and I'm going to see there's a whole section that didn't get absorbed. So I'm going to make sure I catch that. I'm going to apply some more, and then I'm going to always make sure when I'm done to look in the light to make sure that I have full coverage with my clear coat. And with the satin, it's so easy to use. You have that time to catch it if you've missed an area. Okay, now on to project 3, dry brushing. I'm going to be using the same transfer on this piece, but I want to show you another option. Let's say you want to give it a more aged look, a more driftwood look. I'm going to be using chip brushes, and I'm going to be using all the colors I used on the first piece, the Colonel Mustard, coffee bean, and the drop cloth this time. And I'm just going to alternate and layer in a dry brushing fashion all these colors, and just gently, I'm starting with the coffee bean, lightly putting the color on, using the dry brush method, which means very little paint on your brush. And I'm using a chip brush because I really want the brush strokes to show. So very little paint on your brush. Just wipe that brush back and forth, catching all the texture of your wood, and you can alternate between colors. There's no rules as to what order you do the colors. Just keep going back and forth and layer until you get it the way you like. Like I said, this one I'm going to be doing is coffee bean, the Colonel Mustard, and drop cloth.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you give the Sunflower Transfer a try with the color combinations that I put together for it. Once again, the Colonel Mustard, the Lemonade, the Drop Cloth, The base of this is coffee bean. These are coffee bean as well. So I hope you give this a try. I can't wait to see your projects. Put some comments down below if you do. Give this color combination a try with the Sunflower Transfer. It's the Bells and Whistle line from Dixie Belle.